Okay, everybody, this is the Peterson's Farms podcast. I got some guys that make sure, well, they just play a really important role in getting our product from Texas to everywhere else we go with it. I want y'all to meet Lynn and Will Owen. That's a father and son duo, isn't it? All right, good. They're going to talk to us all about trucking and how that plays a role. Well, they may not know exactly how that plays a role for Peterson's, but they're going to know how it plays a role in their lives and their business and what the tricks and tough parts are of trucking these days. I know this much. It costs more than it used to. Fuel in itself has, I don't even know, probably over 100% increase. Okay, so Lynn, since you're the dad, we're going to let you go first. Tell us a little bit about how you got in the trucking business, maybe just your story, just so the listeners can get a quick glimpse into that. And then I want to ask you some questions about the business.
I started trucking in 78 because of my family was all in the ranching business, and I didn't really like the trucks we were using. So we started out small and bought one or two, and that's how I got started. And I've had them ever since.
All right. So why'd you buy them? Why didn't you didn't like the way the other guys that ran trucks treated you?
Yes, and just the reliability.
Reliability. I kind of want to introduce you to FedEx and UPS. The UPS man was just in here. I should have talked to him.
But, the convenience of getting a truck when we wanted one, that was our main deal going in.
Well, I love that kind of entrepreneurial spirit you had to it, to just say, okay, well, I'll buy one, just jump right in.
It wasn't what my grandparents and parents wanted me to do. Believe me, they fought me the whole way.
Well, I think that kind of happens to every kid. Huh, Will? You ever get fought about doing something, wanting to do something a certain way?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I guess if you're listening to this and you don't understand that most all commerce in the United States of America, maybe the world, runs through semi-tractor trailer trucks.
Exactly.
Now you do. And let's explore that a little bit, how dynamic that is. Now, maybe you guys can answer this. I don't know. Do y'all drive the trucks?
That's the way we started out.
Right.
Both of us drove and can still drive today if we need to.
How often does that happen where you need to?
Oh,
once or twice a year.
Yeah. I think back, this is kind of a story from Peterson's years ago. Cody and I were, and I say Cody and I, there was 7 or 8 of us, right? We'd get in there, make the bacon, put it on the truck, drive it. Well, then we got to 10 or 12 of us, and one person was kind of in charge of the truck driving. Well, that was a 2 a.m. start time because you need to be to the stores early, etc. Pretty often, more than twice a year at that time in our career, they'd call up and say, "Oh, I didn't," or we'd get to work at 6 or 7 and the truck still be sitting there. What? Now, hey, what happened? Well, I got stung by a bee. I couldn't go drive. You didn't want to call me and let me know?
We could print a dictionary on that kind of excuse.
Yeah. So as a business owner in those circumstances, that really brings home the gravity of what it means. The buck stops at you.
Exactly. It doesn't take much for us, if there is a problem, to either one of us get in one and go.
Right.
We try to keep one at home for each of us to drive in that case if something does happen.
Now, do y'all drive kind of exclusively reefer trailers, or are you hauling all kinds of freight?
No, just all reefer, but we haul all kinds of freight in those reefers.
Yeah. How did you end up in that niche? Because that's a long ways from cattle.
Yes.
Talk about that a little bit.
Well, I got to put all the credit to my ride over here because he came up with a friend of his, and he told us one day, Will's friend told us that if you want to keep one of those trucks busy, you need to buy a reefer trailer. And we kind of thought he was full of bull,
Right.
because I'd never done that before. But we said, let's try it. And we did. We haven't turned back since.
Isn't that funny how sometimes it happens like that?
Mm-hmm.
We had this bold idea. We were going to put in a spiral oven with fully cooked bacon. Now we need 4 of them. You know, I mean, that particular niche, that particular thing is just really in demand right now. So the reefer trailers, had you been hauling LTL? So I say this acronym, and I should probably explain what LTL means. It means less than truckload. So a lot of freight will be hauled by a full truckload. You know, somebody will buy that full truck and send it wherever it's going. Now, LTL is, I got a couple pallets, that guy's got a couple pallets, and you figure that out. Or do you guys dabble in LTL?
We do a good bit.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that and how, like, what's that? I just imagine that's got to be a logistical nightmare to try to put these trailers together in a way that's sensible.
We don't normally put the loads together, but we haul them for other people.
I got you.
That have put the loads together. And
when you going to get in the putting the loads together business?
Well, kind of need a cold storage to do that.
There you go. There you go. Well, you know, and see, this is just the whole story. I think a lot of consumers have no clue about and how, for sure, Peterson's bacon gets to the shelf at a grocery store in LA, you know, from Texas, how that actually works, or even New York or Florida or Georgia or Nebraska.
Yeah, it's a lot of trouble.
It's a lot of,
it's not real easy.
Sure. And when you get used, it's funny how the world works when we all kind of end up in these little places in life where we're solving that problem, or that trouble seems less bothersome to us than it does the next guy, right?
Yes.
Years ago, we were working with Whole Foods, and everybody, before Whole Foods was Whole Foods and owned by Amazon and this huge kind of juggernaut in the natural food space, everybody hated it because they just made you fill out affidavits and do audits and just all kinds of painful stuff. We never knew any better because we just thought that was normal. So that's how I think you end up in certain places. You just never realize that painful thing isn't just normal. So it works for you.
Yeah, that's kind of how we got started on the LTL. That's our stuff leaving Texas was LTL.
Yeah.
And so when we hauled LTL back to Texas, it wasn't anything new for us, but then we learned there's a lot easier ways to do things.
Yeah, sure. Well, now that makes me think I missed that piece of the equation. You don't like to drive those trucks back empty. So you're picking up wherever you go, you're heading somewhere to find another trailer full of LTL freight to bring back, or full truck if you could.
I couldn't say the exact percentage, but I'm going to say it's over 90% of ours is loaded all the way. We don't deadhead or go empty anywhere. We keep them loaded.
Well,
you have to make it work.
I was going to say, that's right. Unless you can figure out how to charge there and back on one load. And I think we've had to pay that sometimes when it gets, we just have to get it there, especially throughout this kind of pandemic year, or even subsequently. It still seems like there's a big rat's nest in our supply chain and the whole system right now of trying to get it all shook back out. And I think, what do you think that rat's nest is? Or do you believe there is a rat's nest that I feel like there is?
I'm not sure. I just know that COVID's been good to us.
Yeah, busy, business grew.
Yep.
Okay, so I'll throw my thought out, and then you can tell me if you like it or dislike it, or agree or disagree. Now, that is so totally part of this conversation. Like, I need disagreement. I'm not brilliant about everything. So if I'm wrong, or at least you think I'm wrong, I want to hear about it. I think it is lack of truck drivers that has caused the big rat nest in what I feel like from freight getting here, there, and otherwise.
I would agree with you there. I think that's a large percent of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you guys have a hard time finding enough drivers?
Yes.
And is it hard to keep them when you find them?
The good ones seem to be easier to keep than the not so good ones. The not so good ones seem to go away quicker.
Yeah.
Well, tell me what makes
they
a
fire
good
themselves sometimes.
Yeah, sure. I would argue everybody fires themselves. They know what is expected of them, and they choose not to do it. I mean, I never have a very hard time letting somebody go, really, because unless I've done a really bad job of communicating, they had no clue they weren't showing up or getting freight there on time or all these things that typically ends up causing some kind of a separation, then they've known what was expected. I mean, I have to show up. I have to do the stuff that has to be done. Nobody really needs to tell me what it is. I know what it is. They know what it is. It's not a secret.
Well, yours and Will's generation seems like that's a major problem in that generation. And y'all too, I know from just talking right now that y'all are both not normal for that. Because y'all do understand what it means to get there and get it done.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that generational difference will be a thing we've got to deal with for the rest of my career, I'm sure, because the truth is we've got to find the value in all generations, even my kids. Like, I hope to live long enough that I'm working with my kids in some way, or they're in the workforce in some way, then I know they will think about it differently than I do. It's inevitable. I don't know the solution to that. Everybody be thinking on it. If you come up with it, please send me an email. Get in touch with me. I need to know that. I need that solution. I need that answer.
Well, I was very fortunate. I have 2 children. Will is the oldest, and my daughter, Justine, and they're both from the old school ethic.
Yeah.
I don't know how they got there, but they're that way.
Well, I bet you do know how they got there. I bet they could tell you had a big role in it, because you really do what you see. Like,
we didn't have a choice.
Yeah, right. I imagine you heard something like this. You're under this roof. You're going to get out here and help me do this, right? Paycheck, what? That's valuable stuff I heard and lived. I'm not sure I'm passing that to my children as in the same way, right? So I want to accept some responsibility for all of this stuff. I think the parents are the ones where the responsibility ultimately lies.
I agree with you.
So now we're off on parenting philosophy and stuff. We're really here to learn about trucking, logistics, and the role that plays in getting food here, there, and yonder. So I'm just thinking, for the life of bacon, or let's just say if somebody buys Peterson's bacon, the trucking piece really starts once it's in the package, in a box, on a pallet. It starts living its life on trucks, a lot of it. So it'll go on a truck from Hamilton to our cold storage up in Grand Prairie. And it'll get kind of stored there for a minute till we get an order from a customer. Then that's when our team starts putting out loads and orders, and this is what we've got going here, there, and yonder. And then the people, I don't even know exactly who the people are, but somebody within this system somewhere says, okay, I see all of these loads. They can go here. and they talk to you guys about, do you have availability, or have we got you guys kind of locked down on a certain couple of loads every week? How is our current relationship exactly?
Well, we start out in the Midwest for y'all, and we go towards Pennsylvania
Okay.
first. That's one of the first loads, and then
Oh man, you're like, see, I know you're now. See, all you had to do is say that, and I know you're dealing with Wegmans in some way.
Yeah,
And that's a huge customer of ours,
Yeah.
and that freight's really important. And it's weekly. It's every week. It's never, it's like, oh no, we don't need anything this week. No, they need it every week. They're running their stores in a way, so they're wanting to rotate that product every week. They don't want it sitting around. That's money sitting on the sidelines, and everybody wants money in their business in the game.
Yeah.
So, all right, cool. But you leave from
We
Texas.
leave, for Wegmans, we leave from Grand Prairie.
Yeah.
Yes. But we start out up in Sioux City.
I'm bringing
For y'all.
fresh pork back
Back to Hamilton and back to Whole Foods. And
See, that's why I try to stay uneducated. That way, when we're talking, because really people won't get this. You're a huge part of our vertical integration as well, because you're helping us get the fresh pork we need from the Midwest back to Texas. So is that just a loop you really make from some Sioux City down out to Wegmans? Does that same truck come back to Sioux City?
No, we you want to tell him?
How does it work?
We'll talk, because
paint a picture of what that route looks like, or where does that truck live?
We go to Pennsylvania, which is Telford. What are they?
Godshaws.
Godshaws. Drop off there. We were going to Maryland, but I guess that kind of slowed down.
I'm trying to figure out what was in Maryland.
True.
Well, anyways,
the pork and bean store over in Maryland, we deliver, and then also Quality Foods in Providence, Rhode Island.
Okay.
True Bridge, maybe.
Oh yeah, True Bridge. Yeah, sure. That's one of our partners. Matter of fact, Gary Dial, which is a big piece of True Bridge Foods and Aberdeen Farms, and some of helping us raise the pigs. He was on the podcast, like our second or third episode, talking about just our pig raising practices. I need to ask the question better, because what I'm really curious about is, I want to know, is the truck gone and back in 7 days, 10 days, 14 days, 3 days? Does the truck ever stop anywhere outside of maybe waiting on a dock? Paint that picture for me. Tell me, just pick that route and kind of give me a decent idea of how it works.
When we first started, we were hauling 3 or 4 loads out of the Midwest for Peterson's. So I was having to take the loads before I even had loads going up there.
I gotcha.
So I was taking loads that we were 1,000 miles from.
So you were starting the truck here and going up there, picking it up, bringing it back.
Yeah.
We would load them.
We'd get loads up there, but it took a little bit of learning curve to get all of our trucks headed towards the one spot every Friday to load.
Is what we want to try to concentrate on, getting them there for the end of the week.
Are y'all running a business that's really hubbed out of Sioux City and Omaha?
It felt that way for a while.
Well, I'm curious. It might be true. I mean, it's how the world works a little bit these days. A lot of times you don't necessarily, and I just don't know the trucking business that well, right? I mean, I drove a truck, but we'd leave at 2 a.m. We'd be back home, so we were out and back same day to what I would call the hub. Well,
the question you asked a while ago about the Wegmans, that truck leaves Grand Prairie Friday morning. He unloads Wegmans, Pottsville, PA, Sunday evening, sleeps there, and then usually have another drop at Rochester.
Yeah.
At Big Apple Deli.
Yeah.
I guess that's safe to say.
Yeah, sure. That's
go.
that's a partner of Wegmans that we work with to actually help them get some of our product into their prepared foods department.
So he leaves on Friday. He'll dump that last drop at Rochester on early Monday morning, and I loaded him this morning from Rochester back to Dallas. So Thursday morning he'll deliver back in Dallas. So that gives you from Friday morning till Thursday morning.
See, now you said I loaded him. Did you just fly in lately, or
no?
You organized the freight.
I found the load for him to come back.
There you go. So
through brokers.
Okay. I was about to say, so how do you do that? I mean, how does that work? You've got to have a network of people that you know are looking for. Is that there every week, or that's probably just a one-off thing?
It's there every week. It's not the same thing, but they're similar. Yeah. Similar load.
I've never have actually probably said this on the podcast. I think consumers would be interested to know. Bellies go from Sioux City to Texas, get made into bacon. From Texas to Pennsylvania, Rochester, New York. So that meat has, like, the trucking piece of this is so
the whole United
important.
States.
Yeah, we've bought bellies from Quebec City, Canada, all the way Texas, then back to the Washington State. I mean, and you're picking up, I don't even have a guess of what it is in Rochester, and bringing it to Texas. There's so much across the country.
It's dairy products.
Yeah, there you go.
This morning.
So,
and whatever goes to Godshaw's, we pick up the next week to bring back to Texas.
Right. Yeah. We'll take bellies up there. Your truck's there doing that. No, they don't wait on that. They're still busy. Do they wait for that bacon? No.
Well, we reload there at Godshaw's.
So you drop off the bellies, reload the bacon, come home.
Drive 2.5 miles to their other facility, and then come back to
you guys know so much little intricate stuff about the way everything's structured. This company, we're doing business with them, but you actually got to go 2 miles down the road to get the stuff. But here's where they tell you to go. I mean, these truck drivers, that's one valuable thing about them. If they've been with you for a little bit, they know all those little tricky things.
No, you don't even have to put the addresses. You don't put anything on there,
right?
Because they've been there so many times already. So.
Oh, you said good earlier. What makes a good truck driver?
Attitude.
Yeah.
Really?
That's a lot of it. For sure.
You don't want to dread it whenever their phone rings.
Yeah. And, okay, explain that a little bit. I've got a couple guesses, but what's a good attitude?
Stuff happens all the time in trucking. There's no way around it. Never seen any trucking that doesn't involve bad stuff.
Right.
So,
for example, bad stuff is.
Well, we got here, and they say our appointment's tomorrow, not today. It happens. What are you going to do? Throw a fit?
Right.
You're still going to be here tomorrow.
Yeah. I think that's a really good. I hope everybody's listening, because that's a really good explanation of what I think is important in every business.
We try to, I'd say Peterson's and us both, we try to make everything be perfect, but you're dealing with a mechanical vehicle.
Yeah,
so,
sure.
And you're dealing with a lot of other people loading and unloading. So there's lots of variations.
A lot of moving pieces.
A lot of moving pieces to the puzzle.
One blowout, just a flat tire.
Yeah.
But delays things. In a real busy dock situation, there's like a 30-minute space there for that truck, because there's more trucks coming, all this important. Yep. I want to go off the rails when somebody won't let me in a dock. I'm like, there's an open one right there. Pull the door open, let me back up. I'll get in there, run the forklift, get the stuff off. I got things to do. No, they don't want strangers in there
food
cold
safety.
storages, food service. Now, I also lived in a time 20 years ago when it was a little different. You know, pretty much.
Yes.
Come on in, boys,
There
unload it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
Appreciate the help.
The
Good. You
food-
want to check it into our system? Okay, yeah, sure. I knew several retailers' back end systems how to even receive POs. I mean, I was receiving POs for them just so I could get on to the next stop.
Believe me, we've done similar. We've helped them stack it on the shelves. We've done whatever it takes, the faster to make something happen, you know.
Yes, sir. And that's
Don't be scared of labor. I
Yeah.
mean, you got to be able, I don't want any of my guys to do anything I wouldn't do.
totally. I think that makes it easier to do what the boss man asks. You know, oh man, I seen him doing it, so I guess that's what I got to do. And sometimes it's just a kind of inherent desire to be a get her done kind of person. You know, okay, y'all said this is impossible. Surely it's not impossible.
Yeah, don't tell Will something's impossible.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Watch out.
Have you got a good example off the top of your head of something that you're like, man, they told me we couldn't do this, but we did it?
Nothing really sticks out in my head, but there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
I mean, we maintain all of our trucks and trailers right there in San Saba at our shop because you can't depend on anybody else to do it right.
Yeah.
So you got to do it yourself. And we do stuff that people don't do.
We run a little out of the ordinary too on our equipment. Our reefers are all newer trailers. We keep pretty new trailers, and there's not a whole lot can mess up besides sensors and stuff. The carrier units that we use on the reefers are pretty darn dependable. I'd match them.
Yeah. See,
You
now
hear-
you're talking about
you
something
hear-
else I didn't even think about. What
Thermo
about
King, and that's the other big name, but we've not to knock Thermo King because we've just never been experienced with them. We started with carrier and we stayed.
Yeah.
So
That's a good example of, dance with the one that brought you, right?
exactly.
Though in cold chain, I don't know, I can't think of the word, but we want to make sure our cold chain is secure the whole way. You guys get to play a role in that. I'm sure we've come across something getting rejected because it temped out of spec or something.
Yeah.
Maybe if that's never happened, you're setting a record because it's just,
I can only think of that, and Will probably can think of it one time that it not on one of y'all's loads, but
well, it's worth having those newer trailers.
You betcha.
So you've got all this stuff always working.
We were doing LTL, and there's probably a 7 to 9 stop load coming back from New Jersey, and they had his appointments so tight. Well, he got into DFW, and he got held up at one stop. They kept him like 6.5 hours with the doors open.
Oh, backed up to the dock.
Backed up
Yeah,
to the
see,
dock.
that's where it'll happen.
Well, he slams the doors and just hooks it to the next stop.
It wasn't a refrigerated dock. It was a dry
Mm-hmm.
80, 90 degree dock.
And he gets over, I could name
Yeah,
you the
that's
name
one of them
the
times that
grocer,
he needs to
but-
slow down a little
yeah,
bit. getting
by
to
the time
next
he
one.
got over there, they said, "Oh, you're a little warm," so they rejected.
Now, was that the trailer was warm or the actual product was warm?
Product.
Yeah,
Well,
see, that's another piece of it.
Yeah.
Like you want them to, okay, temp the trailer. Trailer's a little warm. Okay, temp the product. Temp product's good.
I'm talking 2 degrees.
Sure.
They turned it down.
And I think the listeners will like to understand and appreciate we're trying to avoid that as hard as we can. But at some point, there's a line that has to be drawn. Look,
Yeah.
nope, it's over that temperature. It's still 1 degree. Come on. No. I mean, okay, so cool. All right, we'll do that 1 degree. What's wrong with going another 1 degree? Eventually, you're totally have no rule.
Yeah,
You always have to
the
start it.
rule's gone.
That's right. You have to kind of keep with something. But that is painful. It costs money. When things like that happen, I know that's some of that poop that Will's talking about that you have to deal with. Like just stuff happens And those truck drivers, now that's slowing them down. And I would bet any truck driver worth his sand is always in a hurry. I got to get to my next stop. I'm on a schedule. Yeah. Every minute matters.
Your slow, steady ones they're really valuable.
Oh, yeah? See, because I would be not valuable because I'm always like, I did this job in college where I had to pick up the mail. I would end up picking up 2 minutes too early. So then I had to go run the whole route again because you can't be too early because people expect that the mailman's coming to pick that box up at a certain time. If I picked it up 2 minutes early, I had to go back. So I learned that lesson a little bit in college, just trying to make money that way.
We probably have some drivers that could tell you the same thing, getting a little bit of hurry up in the Midwest for Peterson's too, because it wasn't quite all there and all ready.
Oh, sure. So, yeah. Need this. Well, anyways, this conversation, I hope gives people a chance just to hear. Like we hadn't even touched on really most of it. Let's talk for a second about the really dynamic things that have changed in your industry and the piece of the puzzle you guys play in food supply, etc. Just in the last 6 months. And I'll give you just tell me about a fuel cost. How have you been able to keep up with that?
Well, a lot of our guys the weather's helped a little bit, but they've really, when that hit 2 months ago, well, we told them, we're going to have to bite the bullet here, less idling and try to run a little slower, get a little better fuel mileage. But we tried to work on it a couple of different directions.
See, I wouldn't even have thought about that.
Yeah,
I'd have just thought about
75 and 68. It's a lot of difference.
Really?
Yes.
What about the idling? When you say that, you mean just waiting on the dock or something?
If you're going to go in and take a shower and eat or whatever,
don't leave it running.
There's no need for that truck to be running.
Yeah.
I
need to listen to that. I never turn. I'll take my little 1-ton diesel truck. I never turn it off. I'll just sit out there for 2 hours running.
Yeah. It gets expensive.
Yeah. Well, $5 a gallon?
$5 an hour.
How many? Okay. Is that about what it takes an hour of driving and burn?
An hour of idling.
An hour of idling will burn a gallon of diesel. How about that?
Yeah, and a lot of these guys like to, I guess the old Caterpillar guys and Cummins too, they wanted you to idle the engine up to have a little better oil pressure when you're idling. So go ahead and idle up to 850, 900 RPMs. Well, that use a gallon and a half when you do that.
How would they do that? Can you do that? Is the truck built where you can just, but is it tweaking the actual engine or is it something you do inside?
Cruise control.
Really? Wow.
You go with the cruise, it'll idle it up to whatever you want. So,
well, there you go. See, more insight, more little nuggets of information nobody knows outside of truck drivers and people that live and make their living in the trucking business.
We were talking about the trailers a while ago. I'd like to say something else real quick that kind of went back with that. Will is a master mechanic, I think, in my opinion.
Did he go to school for that, or is that on the job learning education?
Both.
Yeah.
But we have tried to run these 95 to 2006 and 7. Well, even 7, I think. We tried to stay in that range with these. We run majority Peterbilts, and we try to stay in that range. The dependability is just unbelievable on them compared to the newer stuff.
Well, doesn't everybody that? Okay, so y'all, how many trucks do y'all own?
25.
You and him own 25 trucks? Do you use any contract guys that own their truck and trailer and just drive for you?
2 of those guys.
Wow. Okay, so just Google 2006 Peterbilt truck, and how would you Google one of them reefer trailers? I'm just trying to paint the picture of y'all's capital outlay in this business is tremendous. Just to be doing what you're doing.
We burned 48,000 gallons of fuel in January.
There you go. It will make you really pay attention to the political climate, some of the decisions being made there. I mean, that has direct effect on your business. All I know is my freight cost socialized across my business is up 100%, 70%. That's a big number for us because if we don't deal with that and raise the price on our products real fast, we're upside down.
You're upside down.
When you're burning that much fuel, I guess I don't even know how our billing relationship works or anything, but what's the easiest way to deal with that? That's where you start hearing about fuel surcharges and stuff. Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the only way in my mind you could deal with it quick enough to.
Instead of changing our price all the time, try to wait and see if it's going to level out or go back to normal. But in a couple of weeks, you've burned a lot of diesel.
That's right.
So
you better be proactive.
You can't wait, on our best customers like y'all and 2 or 3 of our main customers. We try to wait as long as we can, but then again, can't wait too long.
Sure. And I mean, I'd probably moan and whine about it and I don't want to pay a higher price, but ultimately I need you to stay in business. I mean, I really do. And grocery stores need Petersons to stay in business, and consumers need us to stay in business.
All of us to stay in business.
That's right.
Because that's what helps keep their prices down.
And it's tough. It's just not that easy to do these days. All right, cool. That's a lot of trucks. I wouldn't have guessed that. So thanks for sharing that information and that many gallons of gas or diesel. That's a lot.
The reefers aren't too bad about burning fuel. Their consumption's not too bad. I think you can run like
1/4 to 1/2 gallon an hour.
Yeah.
Depending on settings and outside temperature.
And then we can run cycle on a lot of this product too.
Sure.
Because our ranges are set where it'll only cycle up so many degrees and kick back on.
Yeah.
And these trailers it's amazing, these near trailers, how tight they are.
Yeah. And the technology just in the computer that runs that reefer.
Yes.
It's sensitive. It understands what's going on. Will, what makes you or what got you into the mechanic? I mean, have you always played with stuff like mechanical stuff?
Yeah. And we had some mechanics in San Antonio that we took our trucks to get worked on. And I started getting more and more trucks. And they were like, didn't you go to school for this? I was like, yeah, but they didn't really teach us anything.
Right.
That nothing direct. Just kind of teach you how to read a book. And they said, well, you need to be doing, you got enough trucks. You need to be doing your own stuff.
Yeah.
And had a mechanic hired and he died in the shop.
Yeah.
And had a motor halfway torn apart. So I didn't have a choice. I had to put it back together. And I saw some of the stuff that he did. So
he was a good influence on Will because, Will could have done all this earlier, but, he didn't have the confidence. And this guy, he helped Will get the confidence to go ahead and dive off into whatever we needed to do. So finally, Will and I both got where we were rebuilding our own engines, he and I. And I'm not near the mechanic he is, but I can bring the tools to him fast
Right,
as he can
yeah,
use
I mean,
them.
that little, I said little, that person to help with get the tools and that, I'd help my dad that way, welding and different things. It's part of that ranching kind of stuff I learned that I think is really valuable to me today.
Yeah, that's the
Helping with the tools is just as important as turning the wrench and knowing what you need. So it's cool that you guys get to do that together. I don't even know. We've been doing this for too long already. I told you I'd take 30 minutes and we've already been over 40.
We're good.
All right, cool. As long as y'all don't mind, I got a couple other things I'm just curious about. Plus, I got to get old Will over there. See, he needs to talk some more.
I know.
What makes him like that? He just doesn't want to
back
talk.
up here and be quiet.
Yeah, he doesn't want to talk. Oh, no, I'm just giving you a hard time. I think it takes all kinds, right? Like my brother's similar. Like you could get him in here. Matter of fact, I've been doing a podcast for 3 years and I've never got him to get on one yet. You know, it's just not his thing.
Y'all should have seen the look on Will's face when I told him when you called.
Yeah. But I read a book called What It's Like Being an Introvert in a World That's So Loud. And you'll find out people with Will's personality are thinking, they're solving problems that everybody else out here needs solved.
That's true.
We're yapping along and we totally miss the fact it's even there to be worked on. So I appreciate you. I'm only giving you a hard time about not talking because I think you just have so much valuable insight and I want to hear about it. I mean, I've already learned stuff. This is what great piece of this thing is I learned so much just because I'm here having the conversation, asking the questions, and then you'll say something. I'm like, well, I never heard that before. Idle time matters, is the truck idling matter? So now next time you go to a convenience store or a big truck stop, walk along all those trucks or drive along them, see how many of them are sitting there idling or not. And then you'll know which companies are paying attention to their bottom line.
Well, a lot of states don't allow you to idle over.
Is that over emissions
10
or something?
minutes.
Yeah.
California and New York are both big on that.
We didn't even talk about that. Are you hauling freight into those? Well, yeah, you're definitely hauling freight into those states. So you have to, what do you got to do to haul in those states? You have to be licensed or something?
Yeah, you got to have special stuff for New York.
California,
you have to have special equipment.
we shy away from California. Just
why? Because they'll make you put something on your truck?
Yeah, all their emissions and stuff.
Do you have to go get inspected in that state, or you just have to have some paperwork with you that says you have the equipment?
Year model and
year model. Yeah. What about DEF fuel? Do the big tractor trailers require that?
We got one truck that uses DEF.
Yeah. What's your take on it, just from a mechanic's perspective? Is it BS or not?
Yeah, I don't know that it's doing anybody any good.
I've heard you can run water in there and it'll just trickle along just like it's no problem.
We also heard that California is trying to outlaw it now because when it runs out of the trucks, out of the tanks or whatever, it kills the grass. No kidding. So they decided to outlaw it and try to figure something else out.
Yeah.
California I have family that lives in California, but they have really regulated this whole industry and they're not that big a player. We don't need to let them regulate all of this.
That's true. Well, we still live in the greatest country in the world, I'd argue, and we aren't perfect, but geez, how'd you like to be somewhere else? It's not going to be a lot better.
No, exactly.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, this has been just a little short snippet, insight, exploration of Lynn Owen and Will Owen and the career and the company they run. And they play a big role for Peterson's of getting product from Texas to New York and back and forth from here to Iowa, all over the place. I hope it tells you a little bit more about where your food comes from and how it happens in a way that you probably wouldn't have a chance to know otherwise. Lynn, Will, thank you for being here. Thanks for coming up and just telling telling us what you
being
do.
a customer.
Oh, yeah. You know, and there's a whole other piece of the thing we could explore, just customers and customer service and being appreciative of the business we do together. I appreciate y'all for being reliable, good vendors to us, right?
I'm afraid if we weren't, we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, well, that's right. If you weren't, you wouldn't be here. If you didn't support us, well, we'd lose the business we have. I mean, it really all is one big thing that depends on every little piece. If you don't do a good job of getting it where it needs to be on time, well, we lose that business. Then, oh, well, maybe we'll hire somebody else, but we've already lost the business. It's too late, you know? And people that don't build business, they don't understand how hard business is to get.
Yes.
Like, it's
Lost
just not
a lot of sleep trying to keep stuff like that from happening.
Yeah, sure. And it's not just sitting on every corner waiting on you to come by, and you're out there begging people to give you a chance. Just come on, just work with me for a month. Give me a chance to show you what I can do. We're out there doing the same thing at Peterson's. So we all depend on each other. And I hope we keep making this high quality product, getting it there on time. People get to eat it for breakfast and enjoy it and come back again and again. So we'll see y'all around. Come back next time, folks. Hear the next story we have to tell about where your food comes from. I promise it's going to be worth listening to.